Sun Disc Ascension. Imagine a magical machine so powerful that it could turn a regular person into something basically divine. No years of training, no slow grind, just step in front of it and walk out as something that could probably destroy a city. That machine existed. In a massive desert empire called Shurima, they built something called the Sun Disc. It was basically a giant golden structure that could channel energy from the sun itself directly into a person. The Shureemans called the process Ascension, and it worked exactly like it sounds. You go in as a soldier, you come out as a god. But Shurima didn't just hand this out to everyone. You had to earn it. The Empire only chose warriors who had already proven themselves, people who had fought hard, sacrificed a lot, and shown they could be trusted with more power than any human should have. Think of it like the most extreme promotion in history. Except instead of a raise, you get wings, immortality, and enough strength to stop an army by yourself. So why did they need soldiers that powerful? Because Shurima had a problem that regular armies couldn't fix. Something called the Void. Think of it like a living darkness that erases everything it touches, was tearing holes into the world and sending monsters through. Normal weapons barely slowed them down. Normal soldiers died by the thousand. Shurima needed something stronger, so they built it. The Ascended worked. They pushed back the Void. They saved the Empire. And honestly, they probably saved the entire world. These weren't just warriors anymore. They were legends while they were still alive. People worshipped them. Songs were written about them. If you lived in Shurima back then, the Ascended were the closest thing to real superheroes you could point at. But here's the part nobody talks about when they celebrate the victory. These warriors didn't come back the same. You can't fight that kind of war. Watching cities get eaten by darkness, losing friends to things that shouldn't exist, doing things you can't take back, and just go home like nothing happened. The Ascended were changed, not just physically. Something deeper shifted in a lot of them. They saved the world. Nobody thought about what that would cost them. Shurima threw a party. The Ascended were left holding the damage, and that gap between what these warriors gave and what they got back is where the whole Darkin story begins. The Great Darkin War. So the Ascended saved the world. Shurima was safe. The Void was pushed back. Everyone celebrated. And then, slowly, quietly, things started to fall apart. The Empire didn't really know what to do with these warriors now that the war was over. Think about it. You've got these godlike beings walking around your city. They're stronger than anything alive. They've seen things that would break a normal person. And the trauma from fighting the Void, years of brutal, horrifying combat, was still sitting inside all of them with nowhere to go. Shurima basically said, "Great job, thanks," and moved on. The Ascended didn't get to. Some of them started to crack. Not all at once. This happened slowly, over a long time. But when beings that powerful start losing their grip, the consequences aren't small. A few of the Ascended began acting out, making decisions the Empire hadn't approved, using their power in ways that hurt people instead of protecting them. The respect they once had for mortal life started to erode, and when you can flip a tank with one hand, losing respect for fragile things is dangerous. Eventually, it boiled over. A group of Ascended, the ones history would later call the Darkins, crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. They turned on mortals, not defending them, not ruling beside them, actually hunting them, using their godlike power against the very people they were supposed to protect. Other Ascended tried to stop them. That made it worse. Now you had immortal super soldiers fighting each other across the entire continent, and regular people were just caught in the middle. The Great Darkin War was not a clean battle between good and evil. It was a collapse. Former brothers and sisters trying to destroy each other. Cities burned. Entire regions got wiped out. The warriors who had once been Shurima's greatest pride were now its greatest nightmare. And there was no easy way to stop them because normal weapons did basically nothing. The war ended, but not because anyone won cleanly. It ended because a group of powerful mages figured out a trick. They couldn't kill the Darkins. These things were too far gone, too powerful, too hard to permanently destroy. So instead, they did something almost worse. They trapped them. Each Darkin was sealed inside their own weapon. The sword, the bow, the scythe they carried, fully conscious, fully aware, but with no body to move, alive, but locked, awake, but frozen. The cage held. The anger inside it didn't go anywhere. Those weapons got scattered, buried, forgotten. For thousands of years, the Darkins just waited. And the ones who survived that wait came out of it hungrier and angrier than before. That's who Aatrox, Varus, Rhaast, and the others are. Not ancient evil for the sake of it, but warriors who got broken, imprisoned, and never let go of it. Aatrox the Blade. Of all the Darkins, Aatrox is the one that hits different, because he wasn't just a great warrior. He was the guy other warriors looked up to, the leader, the one who inspired people. Before everything went wrong, Aatrox was basically the gold standard of what an Ascended should be. He fought in the worst battles Shurima ever saw. He held lines that should have broken. When the void was at its most overwhelming, when entire armies were getting erased, Aatrox was the one standing at the front, not because he had to, but because someone had to. He believed in something. He had a code. He cared about the people behind him in a way that was real, not just duty. So what broke him? The same thing that broke a lot of the Ascended, but harder because he had more to lose. The trauma of the Void War hollowed him out. The empire he bled for stopped treating him like a hero and started treating him like a problem. And then came the imprisonment. Sealed inside his own sword, fully conscious, unable to move, unable to die, just existing inside a blade for thousands of years. Think about what that actually means. No sleep, no escape. Just your own thoughts, your own memories, your own rage, on loop forever. Most people would shatter. Aatrox didn't shatter. He hardened. And when he finally clawed his way back out, using dark magic to corrupt hosts until he could reclaim a physical body, he came back as something completely different from the general who went in. Here's the thing about Aatrox that surprises most people. He doesn't want to conquer the world. He doesn't want a throne or an army or power over anyone. He wants to die. Actually, truly, permanently die. And he can't. The mages who imprisoned him made sure of that, because a destroyed Darkin might just reform somewhere else. So they made him unkillable and then locked him away. Aatrox woke up from that prison knowing he was trapped in existence itself, forever. That's why he causes so much destruction. Every massive war he starts, every civilization he tears apart, it's not ambition, it's a search. He's looking for something strong enough to finally end him for good, and nothing has been. Every enemy falls, every attempt fails. He keeps going, not because he wants to, but because he literally cannot stop. He isn't trying to rule the world. He's trying to burn it down with him inside. That one detail reframes everything about Aatrox. His voice lines in the game aren't the boasts of a conqueror. They're the words of something ancient and exhausted that has watched every attempt at meaning collapse around it. He's not evil because he enjoys it. He's evil because surviving long enough will do that to anyone. Varus, the Bow. Varus might be the most tragic Darkin of all. Not because of what the Darkin did, but because of what two ordinary people did trying to stop it. Before we get to the Darkin itself, you need to know about two guys named Kai and Valmar. They were soldiers, guardians of an ancient temple deep in a forest. Their job was simple. Make sure nobody touched the corrupted weapon buried there. The bow. They knew it was dangerous. They knew something was inside it. They kept watch over it for years, together, because that's what they signed up for. Then an invading army showed up and burned everything down. The temple, the forest, everything around it. Kai was badly wounded. Dying, actually. Valmar had a choice. Watch the person he cared about most bleed out, or grab the bow and use its power to fight back. He grabbed the bow. The Darkin inside, the ancient warrior sealed in there for thousands of years, immediately started working its way into him, corrupting him, trying to take over. Kai recovered. He saw what was happening to Valmar and did the only thing he could think of. He grabbed the bow too, reached in, and pulled Valmar back from the edge, fusing himself into the weapon alongside his friend. Now all three of them were sharing one body. The Darkin, Kai, Valmar. 3 minds, 1 set of hands, none of them fully in control. The Darkin inside Varus, the actual ancient entity, is an honorable warrior from Shurima's past. Before the fall, before the imprisonment, this Ascended was a disciplined and proud soldier, strict, focused, the kind of person who followed a code and expected everyone else to, but thousands of years locked inside a bow with nothing but silence and rage changed that. The honor is still there, buried under layers of bitterness and hunger for revenge against the world that caged him. Kai and Valmar push back. They slow the Darkin down. They surface sometimes and try to reach out to people around them. But the Darkin is ancient and patient and has been doing this for a very long time. It knows how to wait. It knows how to push. And every time Varus loses control in a fight, every time the corruption spikes, the Darkin gets a little more ground. 3 people sharing one body, all of them losing. Varus isn't a villain who chose darkness. He's a tragedy that happened in real time. Two people who loved each other enough to do something desperate, now permanently tangled up with something that wants to consume them both. And the Darkin inside isn't even purely evil. It's just ancient, broken, and very, very angry. Rhaast, the Scythe. Most Darkins have a host who loses. Someone who picks up the weapon, gets slowly consumed, and eventually disappears into the background while the ancient warrior takes over. That's how it usually goes. Rhaast expected the same thing when a young assassin named Kain picked up his scythe. He was wrong. Rhaast, before the fall, was not a warrior in the traditional sense. Where Aatrox was a general and Varus was a disciplined soldier, Rhaast was a healer, an ascended who used his power to mend people, to keep others alive rather than take lives. That's who he was before the Void War, before the trauma, before the long collapse that turned the Ascended into something darker. The fall hit Rhaast differently because of that gap. Going from someone whose entire identity was built around preserving life to becoming something that feeds on it is a specific kind of corruption. He didn't just lose his way, he flipped completely. Whatever gentleness existed in him before got buried so deep under the rage and the imprisonment that by the time he surfaces in the modern story, there's almost nothing left of the healer. Just hunger. Enter Kain. He's a young shadow assassin. Cocky, ambitious, and absolutely convinced he's the exception to every rule. When he finds Rhaast's scythe and picks it up, he doesn't do it by accident. He does it on purpose. He knows what's inside. He knows the risk, and he decides that he's going to be the first person in history to absorb a Darkin instead of getting absorbed by one. He's going to win the battle for control. Here's what makes this different from every other Darkin situation. Kain is actually fighting back, and doing it well. Most hosts crumble within years, sometimes decades. Kain has been holding his own, keeping Rhaast contained, using the scythe's power without fully giving himself over to it. Rhaast is furious about this. He's ancient, he's powerful, he's eaten through hosts like they were nothing, and this one kid is genuinely giving him a run for his money. The two of them exist in a constant argument inside Kain's head. Rhaast is always pushing, always whispering, always looking for a crack. Kain is always pushing back, always reminding himself who he is. In the game, the outcome actually depends on how you play. Kain can either resist Rhaast completely and become something else, or lose ground and let Rhaast start to take over. It's the only Darkin situation in League where the ending isn't already decided. The monster met someone who refused to become a victim. Rhaast is a tragedy wrapped in a standoff. A healer who became a predator, now locked in a fight with the one host stubborn enough to say no and mean it. Naafiri the Dagger. Naafiri the Dagger. Every Darkin we've talked about so far has one thing in common. They're alone, trapped in a weapon, fighting for one body. That loneliness is a huge part of what breaks them. Aatrox has his rage, Varus has his grief, Rhaast has his hunger, but underneath all of it, for every Darkin, there's the silence of being completely, utterly alone for centuries. Naafiri found a way around that. Naafiri's weapon is a dagger. Small, easy to miss, the kind of thing that doesn't look like it's hiding a godlike ancient warrior inside it. But when the dagger was found by a pack of Salawi, desert hunting dogs in Shurima, something unexpected happened. Instead of possessing one host and fighting for control of one body, Naafiri spread. The Darkin consciousness leaked out across the entire pack. Not one host, many. Think about what that means for a being that has been completely alone for thousands of years. Suddenly there's no silence. There's no isolation. There are dozens of minds all connected, all moving together, all part of the same consciousness. Naafiri didn't just find a host, she found a family. And that changes everything about how she operates compared to every other Darkin. Where Aatrox is a lone destroyer and Rhaast is locked in a solo power struggle, Naafiri hunts in a pack. She coordinates, she surrounds, she uses numbers and teamwork in a way that no other Darkin can, because no other Darkin has ever had teammates. Her entire playstyle, even in the game, is built around that pack dynamic. She dashes in, her dogs follow, and the whole group moves like one single predator with a lot of bodies. But here's the layer that makes Naafiri genuinely interesting, beyond just the gameplay gimmick. She's the youngest Darkin in terms of how long she's been awake and active in the modern world. She hasn't had thousands of years to calcify into pure rage like Aatrox. She's still figuring out what she is and what she wants. There's a curiosity to her, almost a freshness, that the other Darkins lost a long time ago. She asks questions they stopped asking. She notices things they stopped caring about. She's still dangerous, still a Darkin, still carrying the ancient corruption that comes with the territory. But compared to Aatrox looking for oblivion and Rhaast feeding on everything in reach, Naafiri feels almost like someone who still has a chance, even if she'd probably bite you for saying that out loud. She was alone for centuries, then she wasn't. That changed everything. Naafiri is what happens when the most isolating curse in the world accidentally gets solved by a pack of desert dogs. And honestly, in a story full of tragedy, that might be the closest thing to a win any Darkin has ever gotten. Xolaani, the Bloodletters. Most Darkins are known because they showed up in the game. You can play as them, read their lore, hear their voice line. Xolaani is different. She comes from Legends of Runeterra, the card game, which means a lot of League players have never heard her name. That's a mistake, because Xolaani might be the scariest Darkin in the entire roster. Here's why. Every other Darkin we've talked about is working around limitation. Aatrox clawed his way back to one body. Varus is stuck in a three-way struggle. Rhaast is fighting a host who won't quit. Naafiri spread across a pack of dogs. All of them are powerful, but all of them are also dealing with some kind of constraint. Xolaani doesn't have that problem. Xolaani got out clean. Her weapon is the Bloodletters, a set of blades, not just one. And unlike the other Darkins who got sealed away and stayed sealed, Xolaani managed to free herself and reclaim a full physical form without the messy tug-of-war that Aatrox had to go through. She's not fighting a host. She's not trapped in a compromise. She's just out, fully herself, fully powered, walking around Shurima doing exactly what she wants. And what she wants is blood. Not in the dramatic, poetic sense, literally. Xolaani's entire thing is draining life from others to fuel herself and her ambition. Her blades aren't just weapons, they're tools for harvesting. She can pull the life force out of entire armies and use it to power herself up, heal herself, strengthen her forces. She doesn't just defeat enemies, she consumes them. The battlefield isn't a place she fights through. It's a resource she feeds on. Before the fall, Xolaani was a powerful ascended warrior with real influence. She had followers, she had authority. She understood how to lead people and how to use power strategically. That background makes her more dangerous than a Darkin who's just strong and angry. Because Xolaani is strong, angry, and smart about it. She builds, she plans. She doesn't just destroy randomly like Aatrox. In the Legends of Runeterra story, she's actively trying to reshape Shurima. Not burn it down, reshape it. Under her control. Using her power to drain and dominate until there's nothing left that isn't hers. It's a different kind of threat from what the other Darkins represent. Less chaos, more conquest, less looking for an ending, more building something terrible from scratch. She didn't escape her prison to wander. She escaped to win. Xolaani is the Darkin that answers the question nobody wanted to ask. What happens if one of them actually gets free and gets organized? The answer, based on everything in her story, is not good for anyone nearby. The Binding Ritual. So we've met the Darkins. We know what they were, what broke them, and what they became. But there's one question sitting underneath all of it that nobody has really answered yet. How do you stop something that can't die, can't be reasoned with, and has been getting angrier for thousands of years? The answer came from a group called the Targonian Aspects. Think of them like cosmic beings, entities from beyond the world that occasionally inhabit human hosts to intervene in big world-ending situations. They saw what the Darkin War was doing to Runeterra and decided enough was enough. But they had the same problem everyone else had. You can't just kill a Darkin. The energy that makes them up doesn't just disappear. It reforms, relocates, finds a new way back. Destroying the body doesn't destroy the soul, so they didn't try to destroy them. They tried something more complicated. The Targonian Aspects developed a ritual, a binding process that could take a Darkin's consciousness and lock it permanently inside their own weapon. Not kill it, not banish it to another dimension. Just freeze it in place, inside the thing it already carried, and make that prison as airtight as possible. It took enormous power to pull off. Some of the aspects burned themselves out doing it, but it worked. The weapons got scattered after that. Buried in deserts, sunk in oceans, locked in temples with guards who didn't fully understand what they were guarding. The idea was distance and time. Keep the weapons separated, keep people away from them, and eventually maybe the Darkins inside would just fade. That didn't happen. Darkins don't fade. They wait. Here's the uncomfortable truth about the binding ritual. It was never a real solution. It was a delay. The mages and aspects who designed it knew that eventually the weapons would be found. Eventually someone would pick one up. Eventually the Darkin inside would have another shot at freedom. They did it anyway because the alternative was worse, but nobody pretended it was permanent. It was the best bad option available. And that's exactly what happened. Over thousands of years, the weapons surfaced one by one. Aatrox got found and fought his way back to a body. Varus got found by two people in the wrong place at the wrong time. Rhaast got found by a kid who thought he could handle it. Naafiri got found by a pack of dogs who had no idea what they were walking into. The ritual held long enough to give the world a break. Not long enough to fix anything. The seal was never a solution. It was just a very long pause. And that pause is ending. The Darkins are awake, active, and loose in a world that mostly forgot they existed. Shurima's greatest heroes turned into its worst nightmare are back. The binding ritual did its job. Whether the world is ready for what comes next is a completely different question. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to comment which story you thought was the most interesting. If you want to see more videos similar to this one, make sure to subscribe and follow the channel.